YouTube, Josh here with Desert Gardens Homestead. Hope your day is finding you well today. Well, if you caught my last video regarding the bone char, I showed you how I went about making bone char from start to finish. And in this episode, I just want to show you how I go about inoculating that bone char. Essentially, I'm going to be using a Korean natural farming principle called Jadam. And if you've ever watched David the Good, he calls it the fetid swamp water. It's a no fuss, easy to do method that you can use ingredients around the garden or around the house. You can use food scraps, you can use weeds, you can use Epsom salt, you name it, you can throw it in there. And essentially it's just a big tea that will, over the course of several months, inoculate this char and just allow it to soak up all those nutrients to where when you go to put it out into your garden, in this case I'm doing it in the late fall and I'm going to be using it next spring, so it's going to have several months to soak up all the nutrients and then be able to redisperse those out. And so I just wanted to bring you along for the ride and let you see how I go about doing it. I went around the garden and I collected some supplies for this inoculation. We're looking at some moringa leaves here. And what inoculation wouldn't be complete if you didn't add some Mexican sunflower leaves to the mix. Also have some of my agave nectar and some Epsom salt. And also had some remnants of some azomite left over, so I'll be throwing some azomite into the mix as well. And here is my source of my fetid swamp water, so I will certainly be adding some of this Jadam into the mix as well. And so this is teeming with all kinds of life, with microorganisms. And so you can't use tap water, standard tap water that's chlorinated with this kind of mix, or else it will kill the bacteria that's already living within this mix. So I'll be using filtered water, but you could certainly just start a fresh batch and then allow the microorganisms to come back. It usually takes about 3 days for tap water to gas off the chlorinated chemical, and so if you just want to start fresh, you could certainly do that, but adding this in with filtered water will just give it a head start. One of the biggest reasons on making either bone or wood char is the habitat that it provides for the microorganisms. And so if you've ever made wood char, just take a look at the difference between wood char and bone char. We're looking at a little bit of bone fragment here in front of us, and just look at how porous this is. This would provide exponentially more habitat space for microorganisms than wood ever could. And this is what we're working with today. So I have almost 2 full 55-gallon barrel drums here, just full of bone char. And so the first order of business here is I want to crush some of this bone char into smaller fragments and just open up the pores to soak in all the nutrients and the microorganisms that I'm going to be inoculating it with. I have my trusty wheelbarrow here along with my sledgehammer, and so I'm going to be lining the wheelbarrow with a layer of bone char, and then I'm just going to be crushing it with the sledgehammer, and then I'm just going to do layer by layer and crush each layer on top of one another as I go, just to make it into smaller and more usable sizes for the inoculation. Take a look at that sky. Isn't that beautiful? We have about a 25% chance of a little bit of precipitation today. So I'm just praying to our Heavenly Father, Yahweh, please bring us a little bit of moisture. We would be so thankful and so gratified. Just wanted to show that to you. I felt a couple drops out here. And I've got almost about 3/4 of a wheelbarrow load here full of broken down bone char. And so I'll go ahead and take this over to the first barrel. You can see I put in a pretty sizable dent within the 55-gallon barrel here. That one was completely full. So the first order of business is to shovel this into the barrel. Here is the barrel, completely empty and just waiting for some new biochar. And now for the fun part. So this is where I get my workout in for the day with the shoveling in and crushing of the charcoal. Makes a really good workout. So I'm just going to go ahead and shovel all this bone char into the barrel. So I got the barrel about 2/3 of the way full, and that will leave me plenty of room for the water and other various ingredients. So I've got about 1/3 of the barrel left exposed. And so at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start adding water. So unless you've already got some inoculated ingredients that you're adding to the mix, you won't need to use filtered water. But since I already have some jadam made up, and I want those microorganisms to infiltrate the bone char as quickly as possible and speed up the process, I'm going to go ahead and use filtered water. If you're adding compost, you could certainly add compost to this as well. Filtered water may be beneficial because are quite a few microbes within the compost as well. So just keep that in mind. But if you just wanted to use standard tap water with just fresh ingredients, no problem whatsoever. Starting to get a little close now. I have about 2 or 3 inches of water above the charcoal. So I'm going to go ahead and just continue to add more water. And the first ingredient I'm going to be adding is the jadam. So I've got probably about a 3-gallon little container here, plastic container. So I'm just going to go ahead and pretty much fill it jam-packed full of the jadam. Since it is primarily liquid, I want the jadam to go in first. Here is my liquid jadam. And you can just see with the bubbles, the jadam has plenty of life. The next ingredient I would like to use is some chicken manure. Then I'm going to go ahead and throw in some moringa leaf. Use that moringa to push down that chicken manure a little bit. Then I'll throw in some Mexican sunflower. And just give it a nice little stir here. Get the stick pushed down into the charcoal so I can make sure these nutrients are making it all the way down. And to just feed the microbes from the jadam, I'm going to be adding some of this agave nectar. And I'll go ahead and add some Epsom salt for the magnesium. And just putting in about a cup or two. Nothing too extravagant. And then for the micro and trace elements, I'm going to be adding azomite. And this mixture is looking pretty good. So what I'll do is I'll just put the lid on, and then I'll add to this occasionally. You can continue to add to it. So if you have food scraps or coffee grounds or anything else, weeds from the garden, you could certainly go ahead and just add those in periodically. This lid does have a slight crack in the top, so some of this water will evaporate. And so I'll just keep an eye on it over the next few months. If the water level gets low, I may add just a little bit more jadam or filtered water to the mix. But this is essentially how to inoculate bone char using jadam, Korean natural farming principles. And this is going to turn out the best end product for biochar, in this case bone biochar. And you just can't buy this quality of fertilizer and amendment when it's all said and done. So I certainly appreciate you stopping in and checking out this video. I certainly appreciate you checking out this channel. If you have any comments, go ahead and post those down below. I'll be happy to answer any comments. And I hope you have a great day, and God bless. Take care. Bye-bye.